The verb form of is entered in the race. I'm not much of an expert in English usage, just an armchair boffin, so I hope I'm not out of line asking what may be a dumb question to the regulars here. I am trying to figure out the form of the verb entered in a passage such as, did John make the cut? Yes, he is entered in the race as the 8th man. Obviously, John was entered into the race in the past, but it isn't past participle. He has been entered, he was entered, and it certainly isn't past tense, he entered. In fact, in this usage, it is essentially an adjective. Is this a form that I am not familiar with, or is it just bad English, albeit in somewhat common use?
This is a great question, thankfully with a deceptively straightforward answer. This is an example of a stative passive construction. Stative passives describe a state rather than the result of an action. Eventive passive, confusion arises because, in English, no distinction is made between the two types of passive construction. Other languages, such as Japanese, make this distinction clear. There is a good article at Wikipedia, adjusted, references removed, which contains passive, stative and adjectival use. A type of clause that is similar or identical in form to the passive clauses described above has the past participle used to denote not an action, but a state being the result of an action. For example, the sentence "the window was broken" may have two different meanings and might be ambiguous. The window was broken, i.e. someone or something broke the window. Action, event "the window was broken", i.e. the window was not intact. Resultant state. The first sentence is an example of the canonical English passive, see original article. However, the second case is distinct. Such sentences are not passive voice, because the participle is being used adjectively. Such constructs are sometimes called false passives or stative passives, rarely called statal, static, or assultative passives, since they represent either a state or a result. By contrast, the canonical passives, representing an action or event, may then be called dynamic or eventive passives. The ambiguity in such sentences arises because the verb be is used in English both as the passive auxiliary and as the ordinary copular verb for linking to predicate adjectives. When get is used to form the passive, there is no ambiguity. The window got broken can have a stative meaning. If a distinct adjective exists for the purpose of expressing the state, then the past participle is less likely to be used for that purpose. This is the case with the verb open and the adjective open, so the sentence "the door was opened, but not the package was unopened" more likely refers to the action than to the state, since one can simply say "the door was open" in the stative case. Past participles of transitive verbs can also be used as adjectives, as in "a broken doll", and the participles used in the above-mentioned stative constructions are often considered to be adjectival, in predicative use. Such constructions may then also be called adjectival passives, although they are not normally considered true passives. For example, "she was relieved to find her car." Here, relieved is an ordinary adjective, though it derives from the past participle of relieve. In other sentences, that same participle may be used to form the true, dynamic, passive "he was relieved of duty." When the verb being put into the passive voice is a stative verb anyway, the distinctions between uses of the past participle become less clear, since the canonical passive already has a stative meaning. For example, "people know his identity is known." However, it is sometimes possible to impart a dynamic meaning using "je" as the auxiliary, as in "get known" with the meaning "become known."
It may be simpler than that. I believe "entered in the race" is an old-fashioned adjectival phrase, with "entered" an ordinary past participle.
There is no dumb question. Smile. This is a passive form of the verb to enter. The sentence can be understood as such. Yes, he is entered in the race as the 8th man, by the officials. Whereas the perpetrator of the action is implied in the passive form, here the officials. With the passive form, the subject of the sentence is not the one doing the action, when comparing with the active form. The active form of the sentence would be, yes, the officials enter him in the race as the 8th man. Edit. It seems I was a bit of base with my answer, as Shreya Bazar pointed. To know which kind of passive is used in this case, see the answer of Pyra Tijer.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.